A number of inmates of the state prison on Wednesday graduated from a Young Offenders Recovery Skills or YORS program, a pet project by psychologist Dr. Candice Blakely. The program was aimed at rehabilitating young offenders before they become long-term habitual criminals, thus allowing them to return from prison to society as positive contributing members. Dr. Blakely's approach in the program focused on the physical, mental, and emotional wellness of the inmate. Part 1 of the project included the training of 8 subordinate officers in the field of new decision therapy.
And what this work does is it allows people to tap into their courage and release their anger, their guilt, their fears, and their negative beliefs that brought them here in the first place. Once having done that, they have some modicum of self-esteem and appreciation of what their life is about.
Prison officer Alvin Auguste was one of the officers who benefited from the new decision therapy program at the Dominica State Prison.
Right now, I see myself as a much better person. Better in the sense that I can come in terms with reality. Better in the sense that I am equipped to face any difficulty and also to use my knowledge and experience to my department and other institutions. New decision therapy is a very impressive therapy that made a real difference in my life. One of the most valuable characteristics about new decision therapy is how much it brought about my waking consciousness into my issues and helped me take full responsibility for my own health and happiness.
An inmate at the state prison now has a more positive approach about his life.
Before coming here, that was about 29 months ago, I must say that I was an addict, and my choice of drugs was crack cocaine. And while being here, I went through a program with a brother that was any program, and I've learned a lot through that any program. And the first tool I used in my recovery was the serenity prayer. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. Taught me I can't alter the past, neither what was done to me, nor what I did to others. Courage to change the things I can. Instructed me to change my attitudes and resentments, my self-pity and my fears. Wisdom to know the difference gave me hope that I could always change for the better. For a while, it was necessary to look back and come to terms with what happened to me as a child. In my family, there was a lot of emotional abuse and neglect, shrouded in denial and minimizing. I still needed to face the truth and climb out of my own denial, which convinced I would get a chance to relive my childhood and make a better past. A wise person said in Courage to Change that it is necessary to look back without staring, as long as I kept staring at my past without experiencing my feelings about it. I stayed mirrored in fear, resentment, and self-pity, so I continued to root out these defects that kept me from being serene. I couldn't let go of something I didn't possess. Only after I stopped long enough to feel my anguish, bitterness, and emptiness could I let them go and move ahead. The new decision therapy helped me believe that serenity, courage, and wisdom were attainable. It strengthened my belief in God and gave me hope for a brighter future.
The Young Offenders Program was funded by the Dominica Social Investment Fund, DISIF, and the British High Commission in Barbados. Deputy Director of DISIF, Randolph Felix, told Wednesday's ceremony that DISIF's involvement underscores its commitment to work with the vulnerable and the disadvantaged in our society.
DISIF recognizes the significance of providing supports and opportunities to the younger generation and has backed up its belief with action. We further recognize that as a people, as a country, we will go nowhere unless the necessaries are done to ensure that children and youth are equipped with life skills in order that they are able to some extent to face the challenges which they are bound to encounter on the road of life. The challenges are particularly unique for our young offenders who, upon release from this institution, must battle it out virtually alone in an attempt to reestablish themselves and resettle in a society which oftentimes are hostile to them. The Dominica Social Investment Fund is of the view that its contribution thus far is but a drop in the ocean. There is still so much more to be done.
And Minister responsible for Economic Development and Urban Renewal, Honorable Julius Timothy, says there is a need to revisit the laws governing the sentencing of young offenders in Dominica. Honorable Timothy was addressing the closing ceremony of a young offender recovery skills program at the Dominica State Prison on Wednesday. According to him, the absence of a youth justice system in Dominica has often resulted into controversial sentencing of young offenders.
And with the growing number of young offenders, there is now an obvious need for the legal system to revisit the drawing board and reform the laws with the intention of providing alternative avenues of punishment of young offenders, with incarceration being the last resort. This legislative attempt will be to hold young offenders accountable for their actions and provide them with meaningful consequences in an effort to deter them from future criminality. The YOURS program, therefore, should lay the groundwork for consultations and recommendations to be presented to NGOs and government in a collaborative effort to implement clear principles for sentencing of young offenders. For example, the utilization of judiciary measures or police warnings and cautions to deal with non-violent, less serious offenders, while concentrating the resources of the formal justice process on young offenders charged with more serious violent offenses. The gross disparity in sentencing, therefore, would be eliminated.
Honorable Timothy disclosed that government has allocated land at the Bellevue Roll area to construct a center for young offenders. This new facility, when built, will keep young offenders away from the prison environment where hardened criminals are kept.